All right, video number 4. What we're talking about here is the debts, and I talk about debts being things like your car payment, your car loan, your credit cards, lines of credit, things like child support, alimony, all that kind of stuff that you have to pay every month. Now, why is it so impactful? Because if you remember back to the GDS and TDS video, the TDS takes into account all those payments, right? Now, loans are loans, so they're a fixed payment. So unless you go out and refinance that loan, which isn't always a great idea, then your payment's going to stay the same until the end, until it's done, right? So we can't really fluctuate or move those around. However, your unsecured debt, things like your credit cards, lines of credit, that stuff, that moves, right? That payment's based on your balance at that time. So that's something that you can actually manipulate. There's that word again. That you can manipulate and you can fix. And that's where we have to look at and see if that's possible to make sure those GDS and TDS ratios, really the TDS ratio, fits and stays where we need it to. How do you do that, or why would we talk about that, and why do I think that's so important? Because what happens is on a unsecured debt, so line of credit, credit card, for example, the payment that you get on your bill every month is just a minimum, right? But we can't use that. The lenders need to know, the government has set the rules in place to know that you can pay more than just the minimum and still buy this house, which means that in time you'd keep paying for your house and your debt would actually go away. Paying the minimum, we know it'll never go away. Well, it will, but just like in a billion years. So for now, they want to know that you can actually make headway on that debt. So when we put the debts into our ratios, we're not actually using the minimum. What we're using is 3% of the balance. That means your typical $10,000 line of credit that has maybe $100 a minimum month payment, you actually on paper we have to put in $300. That's significant. That's $200 more that you can't pay towards your mortgage. Therefore, that's going to bring down your ability to buy to a certain degree. And we have to manipulate that to see where that's going to go. So that's why sometimes it actually makes sense where we can look at it and say, if we're looking long term, you know, you've got your savings, you've got enough money for your down payment, your closing costs. Let's wait 6 months while you put the rest, like the new savings or what you would keep saving for a down payment, put that directly on your debt, bring that balance down, because when you bring the balance down, the payment goes down, which means your TDS ratio goes down, and now we're in line. And that's what we want to try to do. And that's when I said before, I said manipulate. That's what I meant by manipulate. We're not faking anything. We're just setting the goal as to where your debts need to be for you to qualify for that house that you want. And that's what I talk about, and that's what's manageable. That's why it's so important. If you have no debt, well then it doesn't matter. We can skip this video completely. But if you do have debt, like a lot of people do, and it's not like it's a lot, but sometimes it just impacts some people more than others based on income, based on credit, and those factors. So that's why we want to look at that ahead of time so we know exactly what we have to play with, how we can manipulate it to make it work so you're comfortable with your payment and all your expenses, and at the same time still qualify for the house you want to buy. That's debt. Moving on to the next.